May curiosity lead our way. Enjoy.
That's right. It's a whole new vibe.
Yeah. Never done a winter podcast.
Winter tent podcast. Yeah. That looks awesome. There you go.
Sweet.
I'm like just gotten acclimatized to the cold so well.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable. And which is funny for me.
I do pretty good except for my hands and feet. I start to lose it pretty quick.
Right.
But yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the cold plunge is the same way.
Yeah. I feel like that's been part of what a real reclamation for me. Like being able to do that. Have
you been doing them regularly too?
No, not recently, but
No.
I have a cold plunge tub. I just have to actually fucking fill it up and use it.
I got it one. I'm acclimatized from thinking about it.
I did do them fairly regularly at one point, and now I'm just, I don't know. I'm out here a lot, so I'm just cold.
Right. Which I suppose is part of the effect too. Yeah.
And I have no problem with a cold shower.
No.
I don't know.
They talk about how we're too comfortable, and now, being cold is part of that. We heat ourselves and cool ourselves, and you're just down here chilling.
Yeah. So I get the fire going, but it's still fucking cold in here, and then I'll stay out here and do my practice in the cold.
Right.
While it's warming up.
How do you find your body reacts to yoga in the cold?
I get warmed up.
Really?
Yeah. I have to, then I have to find the internal heat, and then I go closer to the fire.
Well, yeah. It takes, for one, I'm not mobile much in the first place, but being cold, I am much less mobile.
Yes.
So, mind you, this is a good lead in too. How would you describe yourself to a room full of people is how I usually open the podcast.
How would I describe myself to what?
A room full of people.
Oh, cool. Are we already started?
Yeah, we've been going all the time.
I didn't even know that we were already.
That's part of the goal, yeah.
That's
we
great.
just roll
I
in.
love that.
Yeah.
How would I describe myself to a room full of people? That's interesting. I guess I'd probably be like, "Hi, I'm Jen," as I would normally actually say. And but I guess to a room full of people who don't know me, that's interesting. I'm a mom, and I have a geodesic dome, crazy temple project that is a place for sacred work, and that seems to be a big part of my existence right now. And then everything I do, I try to kind of do things that are fun. So I'm into yoga and meditation and sound healing, and I do hypnosis, quantum healing, hypnosis therapy stuff, and just in general, interested in consciousness and trying to get better at love in this lifetime. There's the short intro to Jen.
Sure. How to get better at love is interesting phrasing in the sense that, I think you would agree that we are love.
Mm-hmm.
And so then how do you improve upon that which you are?
Right.
Yeah. But then it's more like the relationship with self, would you say?
Yeah, relationship with self, and that Rumi quote that love is all there is. Our only job is seeking the obstacles and removing them. So that's getting better at love. Is just seeking any of the obstacles and slowly getting rid of them.
Before we started too, we talked about you mentioned cadence in your vocals, and that came to mind right away. Improving the cadence at which we're able to find the obstacles and then remove them. Maybe it could be
like a kind of rhythm to life. Yeah, I like
it's like
that.
the delay almost between identifying and then doing something or choosing to react or navigate around however you would.
Yeah. And to notice, okay, we're in the external world and there can be a little mirror that activates something, and there's a rhythm to that, kind of almost syncopation, right? Where it's okay, the external world is showing me something in my internal world, and getting more fluid in the rhythm of going in and doing some of the work instead of keeping it out there and rebounding things back really fast.
Of course.
Yeah.
And our body has an anticipatory response too to events that we've experienced before or similar events. So we program ourselves for safety in the long term, but then to try and rewrite that program can take some practice. So we don't have that same it's a reaction, I guess, not a response, but that anticipatory response can be retrained into a different cadence, or to take that pause and then to choose a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To reprogram the expectation. Like, yes. And that's part of that getting better at love thing for me, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Noticing how have I programmed myself against it?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Or fear of vulnerability, or all of these things that are all internal. So, and then that's just holding myself through it.
Yeah. Where did the stories come from?
And sometimes we don't know where they come from, and it's okay. And showing up with love for the stories as they're showing up in my brain. And like, it doesn't matter what my first thought is. It's like, I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
Like that second one, right?
Yep.
Okay, what do I do with this? Can I love this?
Sure.
Instead of rejecting that part immediately, going, So it's a whole dance. I feel like that's just an everyday dance. It's fun.
Yeah, well,
it's fun.
To sort of expand on the interests that you kind of mentioned, yoga, mother, all of these other roles you play in the world. Could you talk a bit about the path that's led you to where you are today?
Yeah. I guess it started like fairly young. I had a bit of a health scare in my early 20s and just really didn't have any framework around mind-body connection, really. Like, I had never even heard the word yoga growing up, just wasn't a thing in rural Ontario, in my world anyway.
Mine either.
Growing up in the 80s. And so it wasn't until I was in university and a university professor, actually, a really great man, like handed me a book on, I think it was called like mind. Now I would actually kind of disagree with some of the principles in it, but it led me on the path anyway. It was like Mind Over Matter or something like that. And then I was curious and then got into like Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom by Dr. Christiane Northrup, which is like blew my mind, and everything being so connected. And then I went to India, like at 23. Like I was like, okay, there's something about this yoga thing. What's happening? And it was that instant resonance, instant. So I, worked in a bar and saved up money and went to India for a year at the young age of 23. So that really was, like, everyone thought I was crazy at that time. But
you just went and...
I just went.
Was there yoga in India? That was the call?
I just wanted to go to India, and yes, yoga is where, that's where it came from. So I didn't have a particular school I was going to. I was like, there's something about this place and this whole yoga thing, and I'm just going to go. And maybe the feeling of just wanting to put myself in a really different environment to like get to know who I am outside of my usual conditionings. Or rather, you put yourself in a different environment and all your usual conditionings show up in stark contrast to a different way of doing and seeing and thinking about everything. So yeah, I was there for almost a year, 11 months. So that's fairly formative, at that age. And then when I came back, that was always part of my life. I didn't go to get a yoga teacher training certificate or anything like that. I just was going for myself.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until like 7 years after that, more than that, maybe 8, 9 years after that, like having it incorporated in my life here, that the universe was like tapping me on the shoulder to be like, okay, it's time for you to step into the next layer of this and learn how to teach it. So,
was that local here? Like,
yeah, it was actually. It was with, Laura Sagrove, New Leaf Yoga Foundation.
Okay.
So she'd started New Leaf Yoga Foundation here at the Blue Water Detention Center.
Oh.
So trauma-informed yoga for youth.
Yep.
And that organization was growing, and she was being called to move back to Toronto because there's just there was so many more opportunities for them to expand that program in Toronto than in Huron County. So she was like, okay, like you're the one. You and there was another woman, Nancy, too. She's like, you guys are like the ones who are like living it and I feel comfortable with you taking on this group of youth. And so I got trained first through her, and then simultaneously needed to get my like official 200-hour, right? So I was going to Toronto for that. So those were my first yoga classes, was with very awesome and challenging group that showed me where you can't be bullshitting there.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, keep it real, keep it relatable. Yeah, keep it real and keep it relatable. And of course, like I've gone into way other realms since then, but still it's all ultimately about keeping it real and relatable.
Yeah.
And like showing people how it actually can affect and help you in your everyday life and feel less stress, or, you know, whatever they needed at the time. So yeah, that was local. And then, gosh, I don't know, I taught for years, taught at the Y.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, that's where I first ran into you, was at the Y years ago.
And that always felt good. Like, okay, make it really relatable. Give them some real stuff, right? Not like the classic, like just, you know, yoga poses, but it really is an aerobics class kind of yoga, right? I really wanted it to feel like there was something that we were practicing and a reason that we were practicing. And then that led into like yoga and sound. Really, I would say the science of sound came before anything. Not in my life, but like the yoga from India, it's like the mantra and the vibrational, like it's you can't separate it actually from yoga, the sense of that as the worldview, that everything in the universe begins as vibration and is manifested into form.
Yep.
And that everything has vibration. And so yeah, growing into the sound bit and the mantra work just feels like a flowering from yoga, really.
Sure.
And then and then it was during like I think 2020, 2021. I don't know how it got so wild. Just like look back a couple years and be like, wow, I'd never thought of that 4 years ago, and now I'm like fully in it. You know?
Yeah.
And just this idea of consciousness being even way bigger than we think, and our lives being connected to like other star systems, and just being open to all of it. So the QHHT, and starting with listening to all the Dolores Cannon things I could possibly find. I just couldn't get enough Dolores Cannon. And then all the books, all the weird stuff, all the UFO stuff, all of it. I couldn't, it was like drinking it like water. Yeah. And now that's what I get to do. It's like get people into those hypnotic trance consciousness expanded states and go on adventures.
Yeah. And I mean, it's also, I'd never experienced something. When did I come the first time? I think it was the summer solstice one 2 years ago, whatever that was.
Right.
Out here I came, and then I went to the winter one that year as well.
Right.
Yeah, I'd never done a real breathwork ceremony. I did a little bit, a couple of yoga classes previously, but not nearly the same thing, right? As you're mentioning, in the sound, your voice, the drums, and now you've expanded into the gong and the bowls, and like all of that is very immersive. Specifically out here, the tent was awesome, and this is just a whole other thing. So
yeah, the resonance in here is really cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the combination of you and Leanne, her voice is very powerful and strong through the sound, and just the words she finds is very they're sure. You know, it's anyways, it's a beautiful combination that I don't think you can put two words. You either experience it or you just have no idea.
Yeah.
Probably similar to Dolores. Like the whole world is there, but you don't even have any idea until you go in. It's like, oh shit.
Cool.
There's a whole thing.
There's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And Leanne is so amazing. Yes. It's such a blessing to like get to create with her.
Sure.
And we have a real beautiful kind of flow where we get what the other person's going to say or do almost like immediately. So it really has it's really good.
Synergistic.
Yeah. It's really good. Good magic. We have good magic together,
I would say. And as you mentioned spells earlier too, around poetry and things. I never think of the term spells Usually, I think I already mentioned stories is kind of where I go, but spells is it's a different lens on things.
Yeah, it makes you realize how important it is to be intentional with the stories because they become spells, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where does that come from for you? Like the term spells,
I don't even know. I have no idea. I think it just comes from like the understanding of that we're always doing magic.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So it makes it powerful to say something like, hey, careful, that's a bad spell. You get it in a different way than don't talk badly to yourself. It's like, no, you as the controller and the creator are doing bad magic on yourself is way more it's more powerful.
Yeah. There's more emphasis on self.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the potential for change, right? That's one thing I find people have a sense of almost, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not in control of yourself. Anyways, that'll do. But how to regain some control of your life or your situation and change
to me,
stories.
That's like radical responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I call like sovereignty. Like claiming your sovereignty is understanding that you are the creator of your life.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, okay, stop giving your power away.
Right.
To bad ideas or, easier said than done. I'm aware of that.
Sure.
But, it's still, that's so important to have that for me, that's an important reminder all the time. Like, hey, I'm responsible. So what am I creating?
Yeah. Something I've had on my whiteboard for 2 years is I am the problem, I am the solution.
Ooh.
And it's like, it's that full circleness of whatever's going on, whether I like it or not, right? It's like, if I'm engaging and participating, therefore I can take some of that control and think, okay, well, I either disengage and just reroute, or I can take an action or create a different spell or whatever that is and change.
Yeah.
But it's instead is, I'm at a loss for words right now. I can't think of the words I'm trying to find, but it gives the ability to reframe and reshape your reality. Like, I'm going to change this and here's how, and I'll do it. And if it doesn't work, I'll try something else, which I go to pivoting. It's the word I have in my mind all the time.
I hear.
Right?
I like that word.
Yeah.
I like how you use that.
Nope. We'll go there. Maybe not. We'll go.
Right.
It's just this cadence is another one. That's kind of the framework that I see the world through is improving the cadence at which I'm able to identify a pivot point and then pivot.
Yeah. And not get stuck in that self-doubt, stagnancy,
and an emotional reaction, whatever, right? The
mode.
body has a thing that happens instead of like getting overwhelmed with the thoughts and whatever. It's like, no, I'm not my thoughts, first of all.
Right.
Thoughts just come and go all the time, forever.
Yes.
So you don't have to associate with them all and then just disconnect. Okay, well, which I honestly, I think my health stuff has been a big benefit in that I have a really good frame of, okay, this doesn't really fucking matter.
Right.
Like,
yes.
At the end of the day, this is all good. I'm sitting in a dome in the middle of a beautiful place. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So whatever the stress is an hour from now or 2 hours from now, this is pretty good.
Yeah. To be able to be in the present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so just to disconnect from whatever the stress or the problems or whatever, it's like, okay, is it about me? Which a lot of the time it's not. It's like, is it projection? Is it someone else's energy? It's like, we're just all playing a game, trying to do our best. So,
yes.
Yeah.
That's so
I mentioned a little bit beforehand about the theme that I've noticed in 2025 so far around trust. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. What role, if any, do you see identity playing in regards to being able to trust yourself?
Identity play. Well, I feel like first thing that comes to mind is exactly what we were talking about, where if you've identified yourself as a victim, then that's like giving away your self-trust, right? Whereas if you choose to identify as a sovereign being who's in control of your life, like, yes, I think how we frame our own sense of power has everything to do with trusting ourselves, because our soul knows when we're out of alignment, right?
Yep.
We know. So when we're playing that, I want to play small and like blame the world and blame this person and blame my ex and blame this and blame the circumstances and blame my parents and blame this and blame whatever.
Yeah.
well, we know there's a deep part of us that knows that we're not speaking the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So how can there be a sense of trust in your own ability if you're choosing a bad spell that you don't trust yourself, basically, instead of I can do it.
Yeah. Do you have any kind of practice for yourself in order to reinforce that?
I feel like meditation is a big thing for that.
Okay.
Like just witnessing, and like not necessarily meaning like sitting here like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But the observing the thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And noticing where I'm giving my power away to situations or to my own story.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yep.
That something's hard or something's scary, and it's like,
yeah.
Or something's, like, okay, like I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So the practice of self-love, and meaning self-love as, okay, I'm not rejecting those stories outright as oh no, I don't want to look at that. It's like, okay, what little inner tender part of me needs me to show up so that I can remind her that actually I'm an adult magical woman and I can do things and we're fine and the universe is supporting us in our dreams and everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I got you. Right. So that's like, where does that little Jen show up that needs love?
Yep.
So I find that the more powerful practice, instead of like, damn, why am I so weak? Like I should know this. And like, this is a bad story, and like getting down on myself for having the natural things that arise. You know? Yeah. So and that inner child, like self-love work for sure.
Do you verbalize that, or how do you show that love then to that version of Jen?
Oh, even earlier on today, at one point I was like, oh,
yeah,
like this.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel that you're like feeling tender or like feeling afraid or vulnerable about this. And like, it's okay. Like
it's
I can
an
witness
acknowledgement.
that. It's an acknowledgement.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, I can love the part of me that's having the little sad story.
Right. Well, and I think in life in general, right, people have a longing to feel seen.
Yeah.
It's being seen and feeling seen are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's that feeling part that matters more.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see someone with your eyes closed sometimes, and that's still felt. So,
yeah.
But that not by everybody. So that's the other thing, is maybe you're in the wrong room, or maybe you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really, if we get good at seeing ourselves, then the need to try to seek it elsewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Like even in relationship, even in relationship, I don't think that everything needs to be seen.
No.
It's like, actually, I can do my work in myself,
For sure.
And then, of course, there's a point where it's like, okay, when you're not sharing something is because you're afraid of being vulnerable. That's a different thing. But but like I need to be able to hold myself, right? And then show up.
Yep. Well, it goes back to the self-trust. Like being able to say, I got this.
Yeah.
And I need some time, or I need to process or whatever, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, okay. But then that reinforces that trust of self. It's like, no, I do have this. I just showed myself that that's true. And it's just more evidence that you currently are already doing it versus like this sometime, or I'm working on it. It's like, yeah, you can work on it, but can it still also be true now?
Yeah. Yeah. And like seeing the patterns of self-sabotage.
Sure. Yeah.
Who
does that?
Who does that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then like, oh, damn, now how do I love this?
Right.
But without just giving, not in a way of like just giving myself the pass. I mean, you know what I mean? Like there's such a balance, eh?
Yeah.
Because you can pretend that you're being self-loving, but really just not holding yourself accountable.
For sure.
Which I can do that too.
It's a fine dance.
Being real. It is a fine dance.
Yeah.
Here, shall I open this? We'll have some heat.
Sure.
There we go.
That's
that feels so much nicer.
Yeah, we've got a nice breeze of heat coming out there.
Thanks to your wood chopping there, Bill.
A couple of small splits and away we go.
Makes a big difference. There we go. We'll have some nice. Yeah, that's better.
For anyone not watching the video,
right.
we have a fire and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's cool in the dome.
Fair enough. I forgot about the fact that, yes, this is not a completely visual experience.
It could be, yeah. I mean, I pretty much always take a hard left turn into the death question. So if you're comfortable doing that, we can take that and then lead the rest of the way through.
I love that. Okay.
Let me find it on here. How would you describe your relationship with death?
I do love this question, but I love all of I'm attracted to the dark, I think. Not that, death is dark in its own way, just like birth is dark or being, incubating is dark. I don't associate it with bad.
No.
Okay, well, this is definitely, I think, shifted in my life. I think early life, I never really had much. Like, literally, I don't think anybody in my family even died. There's one death in my family that was very, peaceful and beautiful, and it was time.
Sure.
Earlier in my life, and after that, nobody died until I was well into adulthood. So I had no grief really in that sense but it all came through my experience in life. So let's see. In my brain, right now I'm standing in the middle of this a circle of doorways going, I can go through any of these doors to talk about my relationship with death right now. But I'll start with the work I'm doing right now with quantum healing hypnotherapy, or I shouldn't call it therapy. It's quantum healing hypnosis, right? Where that's expanded my sense of death and life so much, because people go into past lives, people go through the death in that lifetime and explore the life from the other side. When my dad died a couple of years ago, I was in the middle of reading Between Death and Life, an entire book just of hypnotherapy sessions of people exploring the time after dying in another lifetime and before their soul choosing to incarnate in the next lifetime.
Wow.
So my mind is completely expanded in that sense of knowing that, yes, we're in this 3D lifetime and it's finite and it's precious. It's so precious, right? But I know that my individual lifetime, that it's my job to be a fully individuated me, following my resonance and being as joyful as possible and accepting everything that's part of life, but knowing that it's this wave as a part of a bigger ocean. And I know that, but it doesn't mean that I'm less attached to being alive.
Right.
But that's the point. That's the magic of it. Right.
Yeah.
So there is sort of this perspective of going, oh, it's a precious thing to be alive in a human body. And I know I've had other lifetimes, and I know I've been on different star systems and I've been different things, and who knows what's next, but also all time is now.
Right.
And some of these things aren't in the future or the past in the same way. That only exists here. Doesn't exist anywhere else, just in this dimension.
This timeline is the one we're on. That's right.
Yeah. Right? Oh, in this dimension is the only one that time exists in. So everything else is what our little human brains can comprehend is so small compared to the vastness, and we get to explore all of it. So to say I'm not really scared of the idea of dying, and yet also I don't want to anytime soon.
Sure. Yeah.
And death has brought I don't know. I think this perspective helped me deal with the death of my father, even though it was sudden and heartbreaking and I had a lot of grief, but I know another part of me knows I still am in contact. We still talk.
Sure.
I still feel him. And like, I know that he's part of a bigger thing. And I know he's on a mission right now. Like there's all these things. Doesn't mean that I miss his physical energy any less. Right. And then, I don't know. I had some initiations into death earlier on too. Like I had a baby who died like when I was 26. Yeah. And, different. And then I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of trailed off into, it's my relationship with death. Like, I feel like it's sort of like a friend that walks beside you.
Sure.
Or me through life. It's this, it's a thing. It's a teacher.
Have you ever had any sense of, or I don't know, visualization or experience of what could be next or what comes next?
Well, it's hard for me to maybe disconnect from, like, that question just brings me into all the images I have in my mind of going through all those sessions of people going through Akashic records and doing like a soul review and knowing that we choose our parents, we choose the lessons that we need to learn in that lifetime, we choose the body.
Sure.
Right. So I have a really active like visual imagination.
Okay.
So when I'm listening to those sessions, and I'm literally talking maybe like I've listened to 20 hours of those sessions of very similar things being described. So I can't really separate. Like I've obviously created the images in my mind from where I don't know. So I have the images. So I feel like I have kind of seen it, even though it's been through listening to other people's experiences, but I've never seen it myself. But I do have a sense that I do trust. And even in my own sessions where like I guide somebody through a death and they're able to look down and see their body, but also be like, everything's fine. I'm good. I'm here. Right. And they can choose to go on and they look back over the lifetime. And then, there's a sense of just being kind of welcomed back home. Like, woof, that was a ride.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you think you did with your mission?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. It's interesting. Like actually, and this is oftentimes I'll ask about, say, the definition of God. I don't recall the exact wording of the questions, but usually it's, what's your definition of God? But the death question to me also relates to God, because in my mind, God is also a place and I've been there. And so this whole concept of, religion and God and whatever, it's like I have memory. I've been there. I've experienced it to what I believe and what my experience would be of that. And so it's kind of, I guess one of my qualms with religion is that it goes off of belief versus knowing, generally speaking. And I don't need to believe in God and religion and whatever, because like I know I've been there. I have experienced that.
Yeah.
And so belief is irrelevant now. It's like maybe not a lesser thing, but it's surpassed. And so I don't need to believe in death. I don't need to believe in energy and life after death. It's like I have this full body knowing of
that's way more powerful.
Right.
It's embodied truth instead
as you're speaking, there's this space or the experiences. I'm like, yeah, like where it's pure energy, and it's, I don't know how else to explain it, but it's like, it's fucking wild.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's like, I would never have thought of that other than, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, yep, it feels true.
Yeah.
It's way more, you're right. That's so much more powerful than like a mental construct.
Sure.
Right. Absolutely. So it feels true to me too. It really does feel true.
Yeah. And as you're mentioning being from the body and like, everything's all good. There's no sense of fear or urgency or whatever. It's like, oh.
Yeah. And well, you had that in your session.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're like, oh.
Yeah.
It's over.
Well, it's all very familiar, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
The things that can kind of come back. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That feeling of like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting ride. Cool. Right? Yeah. It's pretty wild for sure.
I'm wondering, what voice do you listen for when you're seeking guidance on your path?
Oh, wow. My heart. Yeah. So I have a very active mind. I know that you're a Gemini sun, but I'm a Gemini moon and Gemini Venus. So everything in my head is like all the time. So I need to get in my body and like literally ground into my heart by listening to my heartbeat to feel resonance and truth and path there, like what feels right. Because I can definitely create all of the stories to make a certain decision or path seem like a really great idea, right? From my mental space. And it's not always a good idea. So yeah, I really have to be in my body. Yes.
Do you have a practice for that? Like that seems like a very maybe different experiences person to person, but something that's very common is being kind of heavily into the mind.
Yeah.
And so do you have a practice that you'd use for yourself or that you've been able to recommend? Yeah.
Yeah. That's literally like my life. It's like, that's why yoga. That's why yoga gets me into the body. And the simplest, like, have you ever heard of the Heart Math Institute?
Yes, actually.
So all of that's the simplest things that are just bringing a hand to your heart and simply focusing on heartbeat and breath. It's like, yes, that brings you your brain waves to entrain with your heart wisdom. So they're simple, but that's all. Like the things don't have to be complicated.
Right.
Yeah. I just have to remind myself when I'm in cerebral story world that it's like, okay, it's not a yes until it's a body yes. It's not a yes until it's a heart yes. It's not a yes until I like have cleared out, right? And like kind of come back down to earth.
Sure.
Right.
So is that literally just as simple as, you close your eyes, put your heart or your hand on your heart and breathe, 10 deep breaths or something like that?
Just listen to your heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
Can most people hear their heartbeat? I don't remember if I could before.
Huh.
Or can you?
I can't hear my heartbeat, but I can feel it under my hand.
On your hand, okay.
I can only hear somebody else's heartbeat when I put my head on their shoulder or on their chest or on their back. But I can't hear my own unless I'm like in a really hot bath or something. Then I can feel my whole body going boom, 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 boom.
It's a full body heartbeat.
Or like in the sauna, sometimes you can feel that, which is cool. Actually, it was interesting because just last night in the sound journey, there was a woman who normally when she even puts her hand on her heart has tried for years, and I've known her for years, tried to like connect to that and never felt it. And last night she could. And I had that the crystal pyramid spinning
I saw that.
above her heart chakra. And all of a sudden, like at the end when we were sharing, she's like, that did something. All of a sudden I could feel my heart, and then through all of the other instruments, she could feel her heartbeat like changing rhythm and stuff with the sound, which was really cool. She's like, so something shifted for her. So I think maybe that if we can't connect, I wonder, I don't want to put any bad stories out there, but there could be some block or something, right? Just in, who knows? I don't know this answer, but.
Well, the kind of goes full circle back to the vibrational aspect of sound and the yoga. And it really does affect, we are a vibration, right? So to be able to put, what's that triangle thing called anyway?
It's called a crystal pyramid.
Crystal pyramid.
It's so cool.
Whatever vibrational frequency that's at, just reprogrammed or repositioned, whatever, something in there. That's cool.
Yeah. And it was, I think, the movement too.
Right.
Because I get it going counterclockwise to like pull energy.
Sure.
And then clockwise to bring energy
Bring
in.
it back down. Yep.
And I did it over top of everybody's heart because we were just like, send your prayers into the universe, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then feel receiving the love and support, and like, these are good spells.
Yeah.
Right. And that did something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a tangible thing. That's not like, sometimes whether it's consciousness or yoga, spirituality, they have a very sort of ethereal or non-tangible aspect to them, whereas it's like, this is she felt a thing happen.
She felt a physical shift.
Change.
For herself. Yeah.
Were her eyes closed?
Yep.
Probably. So she had no idea exactly what was going on at times or whatever.
No.
It just happened to be the case that that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And then she had a fully embodied sound journey for the next hour.
Yeah.
And the entire time she could feel her heart. And even after, she's like, it's really weird. I can still feel it because she had never been able to feel it before. So that happened.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
So cool.
It's real.
And then I'm like, oh. And like, you can't have the expectation or say that it's a prescription and then this happens, this will happen. It's just being open to.
It's being open to the magic.
Being open to the magic and whatever you're supposed to, have, if it's the right resonance for you, then things will happen. Everybody's experiences are so different.
Yep.
So cool. Luckily, nobody ever runs out screaming or anything like that. But not yet.
Well, you guys do a very, an almost indescribably well job of encapsulating a circle, or what do you call you say a similar term at the end all the time, and it's you're free to go or welcome to stay or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, we call the directions. Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely.
And so whatever that is, you have a very held container. And maybe someone would yell away screaming, but it feels very much like that's not ever going to happen based off of the thing that you do and how well you do it.
Exactly. It is. It is part of the energy hygiene of it.
Sure.
It's like calling a circle, calling on supporting energies, and trusting and setting that intention at the beginning that anything that arises, now that we're in timeless time, is meant to be seen, meant to be witnessed. And I have full confidence in being able to handle whatever comes up. It's true. I do. And Leanne too, like when we do our stuff together, 100%. We can handle anything that comes up because we trust in the divine support for our container. Yeah. And I, even in a sound journey, when it's like 8 people lying around and I'm playing stuff, I call a circle too. Yeah. Or anything like that. Yeah.
Is that kind of the basis of it, to bring I forget the term you said, the divine, to bring it into the now, or more present? Well,
calling a circle is you're calling on the direction. So the east and the air, the south and the fire, the west and the water. So actually, in the north and then different traditions around the world have their own ways of doing this. But that's the more Celtic way. But what is the same is the sense of, you call the periphery. That's about the 3D world, right? Because it's the elements and the directions where we navigate in this plane of existence. And if you want to use the terminology of Middle Earth, right? As opposed to the upper world or the underworld. So kind of in shamanic terms, even. So you call that, so there's protection for this physical plane, right? Around, but also energetic. And then there's the direction of above and below. And so I usually call those as well, like calling upon any supportive energies from above, star nations, brothers, sisters, whatever. Only that of highest and best alignment. And then from below as well, and the soul of the earth, so that you have in ritual, you're using the left and right brain, imagination and intention, and to create a sense of safety so that we can open up. And then you call the divine in to that space and then ask for the support, always in the highest and best alignment for the greatest good of all. So whatever shows up is going to be what's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because we've taken the time to make sure that it is so, because we're powerful creators.
That's right. Yeah. You're the sovereign being that is experiencing the 3D world.
And when we call a circle together with people, all meditating on that, all visualizing all together, right? And we called our names into the circle together and we're choosing to be here and participate in that, it just makes it so powerful.
We just say that that's also then casting a spell, collectively.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Creating this circle together for magic to happen in a safe way. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a non-negotiable. It's to me, that's for any magic, you need that.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can be open to bringing in things that aren't of the highest,
more
best
chaos.
alignment.
Sure.
Yeah. I've had that experience. Yeah.
I'm wondering, So it kind of related a little bit, but this is something I generally ask too. Thinking of some of the most difficult times in your life, what did you find yourself leaning into for strength?
Mm. Hmm. Oh, portaling into those difficult times, Bill.
Sure.
What was I leaning on for strength? Yeah, prayer. I think I have in those times felt that sense of, okay, even this hellish moment is somehow a blessing from the divine somehow, and that I am going to be okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then just letting whatever chaos is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like letting the crying or the whatever the grief, whatever the feelings are,
yep.
To have that experience. And I've always been pretty good at like really feeling it and letting it go as it arises.
Yeah, in real time.
Instead of, feeling like I need to be stoic or something. There was one time earlier in my childhood where I did do that, and then it came and bit me and got released later on, like in my 30s, right? Where that was a scary time where my mom had a brain tumor.
Okay.
And she had a seizure, and I was home. I was the only one home. I heard her have like fall and make some weird sounds, and I ran downstairs, and like my mom's got like blood all over her head, and she's eyes rolled back, and we didn't know about the brain tumor. We didn't know anything, right? I was 10-year-old Jen. We're like, so there was terror. I thought my mom was dying. I thought she was choking. But I'm good in an emergency, but I put all of the terror in my body and never really let myself feel it, because then there was the story of, oh my gosh, Jen, you're so strong. Like you handled it so well. You called the ambulance. You tried to do this. You tried to do that. Was able to tell the story, right?
Yeah.
Stayed really good. Really good. Really good. Well, then I've had, a baby. I had 3 pregnancy losses, right? And went to Kate Hazlitt, and she was doing her auricular magic that she does, like asking my body things, because we're just like, hey, what does my body need to, like, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
I want to be a mama. And so she was like, did something really scary happen to you when you're around the age of 9 or 10? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, people could have all kinds of scary things happen,
maybe,
right? Like,
sure.
It's not that I'd blocked the memory. It's just that I'd intellectualized the experience and could talk about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll tell the story because it's a good one. She's like, well, okay, well, your body is telling me that the emotion of not fear, but like terror is locked in your endocrine system. It's like it got stored in your endocrine system, which is, of course, everything to do with having a baby. I'm like, oh. She's like, okay, well, we're going to trust the body, even if the conscious mind. I'm like, I trust the body. If that's what it's telling you, let's do the thing. So I had like this homeopathic medicine I had to take every other day for 3 nights. First night, everything's fine. Then there was a day off, and then the next night I took the remedy. I think it was like oak or something. And this might be a too much information thing, but then my body, I got my period, but I was like passing blood clots like the size of a fist.
Wow.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
Right?
No
but
doubt.
Immediately I pulled back into I'm a very good observer and, call my dad. He's not home. Okay. Researching how many, at what point am I hemorrhaging and I need to go to a hospital? Do I have gas in my car just in case I need to drive myself to the hospital? I'm like really in and that's a good thing. Like I'm able to stay calm in a situation. But then I realized, oh, this is okay. This might be related. And then I felt to call my mom. I called my mom and as soon as I heard her voice, it's like inner me realized, oh my God, my body's releasing the terror that I didn't let myself emote and feel. So in this moment, I'm safe actually to just feel terrified and let myself be terrified and tell my mom all about what's happening and cry and her hold the space for me. And then that was it. I knew I didn't need to, I knew I was safe. I didn't need to go to the hospital, but like that got erased out of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had River a couple years later, right?
Yep.
So, oh my God, that was such a tangent. What was the question? The question was, what was I leaning on for strength in the hard times? Jeez.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've typically, trusting that I'm here to have the experience. Right. Somehow. But, and then, just letting myself be in it and trusting that divine support is there because there's some reason that it's all happening.
Yeah.
And I might not see it now. And I'm not trying to spiritually bypass getting out of it by not feeling what the feelings are. But there is a deep trust that it's all for the evolution of the soul.
So kind of a combination of prayer as well as trusting the body.
Yeah.
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 I'm just like, I know I'm here for this.
Mm-hmm.
I know I somehow fucking created this situation. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Sure.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Well, and how do various things, like to go back to the soul path perspective, to know that we are here to encounter the things that we are. And this just happens to be the way that it's coming to us right now. So whatever puzzle pieces needed to come together. Yep.
I'm like, what was I thinking signing up for all of these things?
Yeah, right.
Before this lifetime, but whatever. I'm also glad I did because I feel like you can't really separate. And I'm sure you feel the same way. Like you can't separate who you are from what your soul chose to give you as your challenges.
Well, and that to me, it just embodies or emboldens the power that we have. And that's, I don't know, the tangible differences that I know have come throughout my life, through the world around me, as at least a partial byproduct of me being part of it. And that's kind of like, what magic do I bring that's unique to me? And I know everybody has that, but like feeling that at multiple points or often even during the life. And that's sort of part of structuring my life now. It's the power of conversation. It's one of my core beliefs, the power to change the world through conversation. And that's one of the reasons I love having them, is because both of us will forever be different after this conversation. And then everyone that we encounter today, tomorrow, forever will be somewhat affected by the shifts that have happened as a byproduct of this conversation. And so I don't go globally and social things and whatever. Like, it's not my fight. It's not where my power is. And I know that the part of my life path is to have more conversations with people because they fucking matter. And that's the power of change. So
that's really cool.
Well, and that's I appreciate you coming to do this, for one, as a side story.
I appreciate this too. It's like, this is a great conversation.
It's awesome.
And conversations are the bomb. Real deep ones.
So this is a fun one. Oof. What comes to mind when you think about a time in your life that you felt most alive?
Oh, the most alive. Yes. When Leanne and I are doing our magic work, I have to say, those feelings of being in perfect alignment and like that sense of it's joy, right? It's a joy of like really living like what we're here for, right? So those moments, like the feeling in the room, sometimes we just look at each other, just like,
yeah, the goosebumps come on.
It's just so good. And I feel the same way. Like I realize part of my like the resonate, like what really resonates in my soul, right, is like groups of people doing things that are good for them.
Sure.
So like a good yoga class, I feel like so much joy when people are in Shavasana and like coming back with the little chimes and they're just like, their faces are so peaceful and it just feels so good. And I feel so alive.
Yeah.
It's in me, even though I'm seeing other people feeling good.
For sure.
And QHHT sessions, I am so in it that I don't even exist. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And yet I feel so alive. I'm like so in it. And that feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, like my brain also then goes, well, yeah. And then there's just like beautiful moments being alive, playing at the beach with my daughter and go like the things where it's just simple, pure
life,
being a human animal in the sunshine.
Yeah.
you know, but there's a particular quality of, I don't know, there's a different frequency or something that comes through when I'm feeling like it's not me actually that's even saying the things. Like there's a certain thing I get dialed into, I think, when I'm at a certain place where I'm becoming a channel for something else, and it's not my concepts, I'm just like actually a tool, and I feel a real energy flow. Like last night was one of them. Like last night's sound journey was awesome. And it was like, this isn't even, I know it's me. I know that but I'm also like tapped into something.
You're the vessel.
It feels very, it's a really good feeling.
Yeah. I'm guessing a lot of those things have a sense of timelessness associated to them. And that's, well, the reason I say that is because that's generally things that make me feel most alive. I also lose track of time, where there's no real concern of the 3D world. It's that this is all happening and there's a presence there where the rest of the things, it just doesn't, because it doesn't matter.
I guess that would be what people would call a flow state, I imagine, right? That's that same kind of idea of just like, what is time? Full presence is timelessness.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. To be really in something.
Yeah.
It's really good.
The various things. And that's, well, I guess playing guitar is similar in the sense of just being a vessel. I don't always feel like I'm playing notes. It's just like, these are the sounds coming from the thing in my hands, you know, and where are they coming from? It's like, I don't know. But usually that's when the hair on my neck stands up and I get the goosebumps everywhere. I'm like, what is happening? You know?
Yeah.
But that's, whether that's your ceremony or the sound baths, the time with your daughter. It's like, how is this real life?
How is this real life? Yeah. Really beautiful sessions of making love can be like that too, right? And that's what we want. Like that's that open up to be in the moment so much that it's like we don't really exist, and yet we fully exist more than we normally do when our brains are out of the way.
It's almost receptivity to oneness. Just came to mind. I don't know.
Receptivity to oneness. I love that. Yeah, because I guess there is a sense of, there's a commonality in all of those things where for me, I could feel that it's sort of opening up to be, there's so much more.
Before we started, I said about how I usually try to find themes and things, just kind of the way my brain works.
Yeah.
That's an example.
There you go.
It's like, how do we piece this all together into a thing? And I have no idea what it is. That's part of the fun.
Kind of like reaching out of the individuated experience into that experience of unity. Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's beautiful too. Yeah.
And it's like you can only really do one by fully going into the other somehow, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The spiral ever inward, ever outward, right?
It's the dance.
It's the dance.
Yeah. I forget who said, I don't know if it was Eckhart Tolle or whatever, but that's life is the dancer. You are the dance.
I love that. Yes, I love that. Yeah. And we got to be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the flow state. That's the,
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
I love that too.
Kind of start to wrap things up. As you look into the coming weeks and months, what are you feeling most excited about?
Right now, I'm in like a deep winter kind of rest state. Not a lot going on right now. And it's trusting that. So I do look forward to this incubation time starting to roll more in the spring and really give myself permission to just trust the rhythms. So spring, we've got, well, like in our 13 moon priestess apprenticeship, how that is deepening and unfolding, like that we're just in this magical rhythm with everybody. I'm so excited about that container and all that we're creating in it. That's just like, it's this like I don't know, I keep on seeing like fractals, like ever expanding outward from this seeds that are being planted. So that feels really good. And I know that there's a lot that's going to come from that. And going down to we just all signed up for a road trip. We're going to Asheville, North Carolina. Yeah. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. I don't even know if they speak that way there. I'm like so silly.
In Bayfield, they do.
Yeah, anyway, we're going down to the quantum healing hypnosis retreat to hang out with all the other awesome weirdos. And well, it's just keep expanding, right?
Yeah.
I'm feeling really, I'm a very grateful. I'm a lot to be grateful for in my life.
Sure.
Like, I have a quantum accelerating portal building temple on my, lawn.
It's your backyard, yeah.
Where we get to do a lot of good things. So I'm just like, okay, where I already just recently, as part of this deep winter, I'm like, okay, like I'm in like a little womb space right now, and show me what you want me to do, like to be of more service, but with more joy and ease. Right?
Sure.
Because it's all part of it.
Yeah, and part of that joy and ease, I imagine, comes with like back to cadence. The ease isn't necessarily due to being easier. It's due to being better at dealing with whatever circumstance arises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta, part of my practice of holding myself accountable to my sovereignty is I do have some pretty good meaty challenges that I have to deal with that are they're not where I want to go.
Sure.
Right? So I realize I'm the one creating the resistance because there's fear and just the unknown and everything like that. So I've got some things that I look forward to gathering my strength for the long haul of dealing with a couple of those the one big fun thing that's not so fun. It has everything to do with paperwork and legal shit.
Very 3D bullshit.
It's like, I just want to dance with the fairies, but no, actually my soul purpose path is, how can I make that joyful and bring
joy to the
the satisfaction? I really I know I'm like teetering where I like everybody always actually knows what they really actually need to do, and it's the thing that you're avoiding the most.
Sure.
Nobody does that.
Yeah.
And I know I've got my weak spots, and that's it. So
opportunities.
So I am choosing to reframe instead of talking about, I'm excited for the retreat. Like, no, actually, I'm reframing it in this moment. I'm excited to do the thing I want to do least because it'll feel so good to be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just your question just activated something for me. So thank you.
Beautiful. One final question. Something that you have posted for a long time is Love Your Way There. I'd love to hear about where that came from and where that is.
Where that is. Oh, where is there? There is nowhere there, right?
Yeah.
That phrase just came to me one day when I was like, oh, right. All of this reaching and striving and kind of almost addiction to the sense of self wanting to be better. I realized that I was operating from a place of, I need to be more and I need to be better in order to be worthy of love. Right? And I need to, look better, be better, be more this, be more that. And when I could listen to that part of my mind that was the self-critic, it's like literally I can go through the list and basically my self-critic will tell me that I'm not good at anything at all. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Therefore, you're unworthy. It's like this story. I was like, oh my God, like that's all in there. So that's where Love Your Way. Like, no, how I'm going to it's okay. I love to learn. I love to expand, but it's got to be from a place of I'm already enough. Even if that isn't fully, completely on every level of my being, like always felt, because I have to remind myself every day that I'm enough and that I can expand with joyfulness from a place of love and gratitude, and not from this place of, well, because I'm not good enough now, I need to be more. Sure. So love your way there. That's my spell for I love who I am now. And I love who I was when I made mistakes. And I love the version of me that messed up and keeps learning how to be better at love. Yep. And that's that internal thing. So love your way there is, to me, it's a powerful, like, that's our main work for everybody.
It's kind of that expansion isn't associated with worth. You're already worthy.
Yeah.
The expansion is still, compelling. That's the liveliness. That's the, I don't know. That's what gets you out of bed in the morning. Like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And that's it is the nature of the universe to be expanding.
Yeah.
And consciousness is expanding. And we're here, but that's supposed to be joyful, not like full of shoulds and unworthiness programming and having us addicted to this, like, it's from you can sign up for the same course, but have very different motivations and feel different. Right. Yeah. So it's the reminder of like, let's love. I'm going to love my way to wherever I'm going, which there is nowhere to get to, but we're along the way. So it's not like when I get there, I'm going to be worthy. I'm worthy. So I'm loving myself onward.
Yeah.
Through this lifetime and through all the other lifetimes I may be blessed with in the future or the past or all times now. So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And mic drop.
And mic drop.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Jen, for welcoming me into the dome.
Yeah.
And starting a fire, getting the heat on. It's
good. It feels good. We're warm now.
It's nice.
Took us the whole time to warm up.
The blanket's falling off, but I'm happy. Yeah, it's good. Here we go.
The whole time. But
how do people get a hold of you? Where can they check out your stuff? Are you taking on clients for sessions and things like that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've got a website, jenniferreaburn.com. And we also have medicinewomenalchemy.com, which is the work that Leanne and I specifically do together. And we've got some really fun, like, the combination. We think we might actually be tapping into something that's not ever really been done before, because that's part of expansion, which is this combination of the evolutionary astrology that Leanne does, which is, she's so brilliant at it, showing she can see things in your chart where what your soul incarnated with as the gifts and like kind of where you're going. And that partnered with a quantum healing session, we've just found it's been so powerful.
Sure.
Someone having different questions to ask after a session with Leanne and then coming into a session with me, and then it's like magic is happening. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So yeah, those two places. And then like, honestly, like I always post like what upcoming things on my little Instagram.
I'll link it all in the description.
So nice of you. And it's fun. It's just all, yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are the ways.
Well, and as I said, I can't recommend your sessions, your and Leanne sessions, all of that. The work that you're doing is magic, and I've experienced it, and I'm grateful. So
thank you, Bill.
Thank you so much.
Thanks this is like such an awesome thing to be able to do and have you ask really good questions.
Thank you. I try to put some time in and make it.
There's no fluffing over any of that. Yeah. It's like, whoa, okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're really good. Thank you.